no matter how old you are, I can still make and have like some of the closest friends I know even 2 years ago
Yeah.
that I'm like shocked. There's so much more of community and connection to be continued.
It's true. There's a line from the original Muppet movie, and Gonzo sang this line: "There isn't a word yet for old friends you just met." I'm Alicia Skye, and this is the Brilliance Method podcast. Through mindful, motivational, and often hilarious conversations with thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and executives, you'll discover new ways to create your life on purpose. Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Brilliance Method. Today, we are hanging out with the incredible Catherine "Cat" Curry-Williams. She is a TEDx speaker, a best-selling author. She's a keynote speaker, and she challenges conventional concepts of philanthropy. And we're going to talk more about her book in a little bit. Cat is a force for change. She has been committed to philanthropy for over 2 decades, and she draws in and influences others, cultivating meaningful connections between individuals and ideas, instilling a shared sense of purpose and dedication to making an impact. Kat challenges philanthropic norms. She pushes boundaries and defies established perceptions. And as a dedicated advocate and founder of Shane's Inspiration, established in 1997 in memory of her son, Shane, Catherine has led global initiatives to create inclusive, sensory, and literacy-rich playgrounds throughout the world that unite children of all abilities. In 2020, Catherine expanded her impact by co-founding She Angels Foundation, which awards monthly grants to grassroots organizations supporting young women and girls. A fervent advocate for women's empowerment, she shares her passion and wisdom through teaching and speaking. Catherine's journey has been marked by numerous honors and awards reflecting her impactful contributions, including the L'Oréal Paris Women of Worth. Catherine also received the Lifetime Achievement Award from President Barack Obama. She was recognized as one of the Women of the Year for the state of California. And now Kat has a best-selling book, Philanthropy on a Shoestring. It is a guide, an inspiration, and a call to action that urges you to make a difference, no matter the size of your contribution. Oh my goodness, magic woman, welcome to the show.
And here we go. Thank you so much, Elisa, for having me on. Alicia, you are a force to be reckoned with. This much I know about you from everyone that knows you. We have at least 3 degrees of separation through many friends.
We do. And I think we've been in the room together a few times. Just there's always so many people around and there's so much swirling energy and empowerment and magic. So here we are. I was so happy to connect with you and to have you on the show to shine a huge light on you and the work that you do. You know, before it gets too crazy and we get into whatever it is we're going to talk about today, please tell us about your book. Hold it up. You got it right there.
You. Oh, I just happened to have it.
Catherine, tell me about your book.
Well, let me just see. Oh, here it is. Oh, shocking. I just had it here. Well, thank you. Thank you for asking. You know, my book came out of it. I would say there are no new ideas. It's how you present them. So philanthropy, I do a lot of like looking at the dictionary for words that I use a lot. And philanthropy kept on coming up in my life because I've built the playgrounds and my history, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And I was like, oh my God, I can't. People are calling me philanthropist. I'm like, no, I can't. I'm not that. That's like millions. You're very famous. You have tons of like, and it kept on coming up. And they're saying, no, you are, and different people that I love and respect, but I would just cut them off and say, no, I just, anyway, I looked it up one day. I don't know what took me so long, but I looked it up and it said philanthropy, the love of humanity. I'm like, well,
that's who you are.
Shit. Yes.
Well, shit.
That's exactly what I said. And maybe that was like 6 or 7 years ago. I don't, time has no time is no
Non-linear
longer a
an
linear to
illusion.
me, I
Yeah.
guess.
Okay, so you finally owned, okay, I'm a philanthropist now that you understand the definition of it, and it absolutely resonates with who you are on the human and soul level. So, how do you become a philanthropist? Because that is 1,000,000% one of my goals.
Well, the reason why I titled this Philanthropy on a Shoestring, How to Make a Difference on $1.40 a Day, that title came to me while I was up in Idlewild. I had never been there. I was at a wedding. I was going to get a cup of coffee, and I was like, this is just a plain cup of coffee. When he told me how much it was, I think it was $5 or something. And it was like I had just a cup of coffee. It wasn't even that great cup of coffee. And then I thought, geez, if I put $1.40 away a day, oh, I did the math. I helped Siri helped me do the math of how collectively I could make a difference if I was more mindful about my coffee. So
Tell me
I
about
did
that.
the math on, so I was looking at 10 friends giving $500 a year collectively is $5,000. And at the organization that Catherine Gray and I started, it's called She Angels Foundation. It's a collective giving organization, meaning that we're a membership organization. So what every member gives, collectively, we could give grants. Lo and behold, we'll talk about that later. It's been amazing how many grants we were able to give collectively. When it came to write the book, which I just wrote, it came out in this past September 2024, was all the musings of how this, started to let people know. And the key for me was that $500 and 10 friends. And if I didn't have 10 friends, maybe I had two and you had two and they had two. It's like a book club.
Mhm.
And then it's $5,000. It equals $5,110, which was more exciting because then there was room for pizza and a bottle of wine at the
That's
end.
right.
You and your 10 friends with so that $1.40. So that's how you become a philanthropist on $1.40 a day. It's also it's not random giving, which is great too. Charitable giving is emergency giving. We do need that. We come together. I'd always notice this even as a child, you come together around emergencies. So it's a community building thing. You give and it's important. But when you strategically give, strategically give is to a certain, you can give to more than one, but our organization, She Angels Foundation, gives to women and girls causes because there's less than women and girls get less than animals. We get less than 2% of all charitable giving in the US. Animals get 3 to 4%.
Wow.
It is shocking. So in knowing that this model was a great collective giving model, the collective giving with just the simple idea of the amount 500. So of course I backed it up and thought about the coffee, and this is less than a cup of coffee, and it's a dollar. So I did the math at $1.40 a day. First it was like $1.37. It's approximately that. And I realized that's how easy, I mean, that's why I put it into the book this way. That's how easy it is to become a philanthropist. Now, what it takes is passion for humanity. So it's, yes, that's easy for me and for you. And really most people want to do good. I really believe in the good of humanity. So
Me
now
too.
we have the good of humanity. The word philanthropy is, loving the humanity. And now strategically, where should we do this? Not just be just charity is different. Charity is something you give in an emergency situation, but philanthropy is you give strategically. And so that's how easy it is to be a philanthropist. And now, if you have 300 friends, because of your friends, you can do what She Angels Foundation has done, which has given in 4 years, 54 $5,000 grants.
Cool.
And that stemmed from the idea of collective giving. So are you on your way to being a philanthropist now?
I am. I certainly am. I can give $500. That would be easy and wonderful. And yeah, and $5,000 can really change the trajectory of someone's life who's trying to build a business or trying to, change something. So, what are the requirements for anyone listening to be able to apply for the grant?
Well, the you have to go to the She Angels. It's sheangelsfoundation.org, and we have you have to be a female founded and operated 501(c)(3), which
Hmm.
is your that makes you
Not for
a
profit.
nonprofit,
Hmm.
and we keep it very simple. And one of the things that I want to tell you, that $5,000. First of all, $500 can be a lot to someone, so I don't want to say, hey, that's not a lot of money, but $1.40 a day collecting to 500, realize it's doable. It
Yeah.
makes in the way that you put it together. If tomorrow I said, can you give me 500? You go like, oh no, I can't afford to be a philanthropist this year or what. No. But if I said, put away $1.40 a day, don't have the second cup of coffee, do it, and let's see it. You'll see how easy. So you have to really for uh, set yourself up for it to be something that is easy for you, because
Yeah, and thank you
that's
for that perspective because you're right. There was there have been many times in my life where $500 was not possible. And when you phrase it that way, and nowadays with online banking and different apps, you can set that up to go into a savings automatically every day. So you can make it possible for yourself to be able to give. So just to clarify, so anyone who is to be a
a
benef-
beneficiary of the
benef-
a grantee. What we do give is to grassroots organizations as well. And here's what I want to say about that $5,000. When you said $5,000 could make a difference, it makes a huge difference when you give it to a grassroots organization that, like She Angels Foundation, we're a volunteer organization. We do have a few paid employees, which basically they love it, what they do so much. They're part of our membership and they give way more. We're like, no, stop working. You're working too hard. So many volunteers, and that's usually what a grassroots organization, they see the need, they call a friend, everybody wants to help. And I believe in paying well, so I don't want to say organizations shouldn't pay their employees. And it happens to be, I'm the executive director, CEO, chief bottle wash and cook, but all our board members are also intensely volunteering their time of what would be, $100,000 paycheck. It's all volunteer.
Wow.
So when that happens in a grassroots organization, it happens a lot.
Mhm.
And so that $5,000 really gets spread. Women are very good at, you know, buying shoes and a purse to go with it. We are good at solutions. And when it comes to
Resources. We are good at resourcing, right?
exactly. And so that is why we look for grassroots organizations, because we know that $5,000 will go very far. So your nonprofit has to fill out the questionnaire. It's called your submission,
Mhm.
and then that submission goes in, and it takes between 3 and 6 months before our volunteer team of we have the grant squad, and we have volunteers that have been in nonprofit um, for 30 years that are we're not making it hard for these organizations, because that's where I'm challenging conventional concepts of philanthropy, because that grant application process for any grant writer or anyone that's on the side of applying for a grant is like birthing a baby.
It could be brutal. Yeah. Yeah.
Is most of the times brutal.
Mhm.
Then you hear Mackenzie Scott and Melissa, uh, Jeff. what's her other name? Like they give a lot of money. A lot of women give a lot of money, but they only give to organizations that have $1 million operating budget and above. That is not a grassroots organization.
No.
So there's a gap in there. They give it freely, unrestricted, but obviously there's criteria that you have to show the impact that you're making. But I am a big advocate for the grassroots organizations and making it easy for them to do the work, boots on the ground. They know their community. Our vetting team knows it well by speaking to them, looking to their website. We don't need them to do a song and dance and then see if they can speak in tongues to make sure that they're going to do what they're going to do. So to apply, yes, there's criteria, and yes, you will, be speaking with someone from our grant squad to make sure you qualify. And if you don't qualify the first time, maybe you will the second time, and we can talk you through it. So that's what we do. And then I and other members of our board will help mentor your organization if you need. We give to a great organization called Democracy. And this organization, Sarah Jackal, she helps young girls. I think they're freshmen in college and they're high school seniors, where they might not be in leadership positions. She gives them intern stipends so they can not have to work the summer and be able to be in a leadership program and show them that they can become these leaders. If it in it's not political, it's just leaders.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
where there would be no opportunities. And then I have mentored her organization and others on the board and what it is to have a grassroots nonprofit. I'm very versed on both sides, from having a nonprofit since 1998
7,
and
right? 7, yeah.
1987. Okay, thanks. What's that math again? And
7. You're a busy bee, and so when I say, okay, well, it's my goal to be a philanthropist. So thank you for empowering me to know that I can do it now. But the impetus underneath that is I want to continue building and scaling my life to have great wealth, to make a big impact. And I understand I can make a big impact through having multiple friends contributing $500. So that is it's a relief to hear that, to know that that's out there. And everyone watching or listening, I'm sure, is curious, Catherine, how did you get there, right? How did you build your life to be able to do this? Because most people work in 9 to 5, thank you, Dolly Parton, right? Just trying to make ends meet, taking care of their family, and don't have a lot extra, don't have the ability to purchase multiple homes, right? That you have and that I have. And we're so grateful and blessed. And it's not easy, and it's not always easy, and it hasn't always been easy. And I don't think people always understand that either, like the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into building our life.
it really is. And everything that I've been passionate and what I call thrown my hat over the wall to do, which means like, now I'm going to do it. There's been challenges.
Well, where'd you start?
I started, well, I didn't start on a wealthy plane to begin with to start my life in philanthropy. I was just married and had, well, first of all, came from Brooklyn. I think I said that already. I came
Mm-hmm.
from, and when I say that, I'm proud of my pizza heritage.
Yes.
And I'm a good Italian cook.
I love
And
it. So you're Irish, Italian, and Jewish. You got you got,
yeah,
like, that's, what do you call it? Your bingo card is
yeah,
complete.
it's well, I'm Italian by neighborhood. I'm Irish and Jewish by thing. So
Italian by neighborhood. I'm Italian by marriage.
there
So
you
I'll see
go.
you there.
And I love it. I love all my how I speak with my hands, and and matzo ball soup, and my and a very delicious Manhattan or martini. So I really received all the cherished gifts from all those
You
nationalities.
sure did, babe. So we're in Brooklyn. Little Catherine grew up poor and then finds her way.
I was a latchkey kid. I really did not. My mom had several jobs. My mom and dad were divorced, and I was looking to get into trouble whichever way I could because no one was watching. Because I'm the youngest of the four sisters, and school was not my. That was not where I was looking to go. But I made my way through jobs since I'm 14 years old. I worked in the toy store, then I worked in the clothing store. Then I decided that I was going to move to Hollywood when I was 18 and start an acting career, which I waited tables and I did all those things to pay for my years of Meisner technique. And also I had to study with Robert Easton to lose the Brooklyn accent because nobody really loves a Brooklyn accent so much. So I had to lose that. And then,
I love it because it reminds me of my family. And I will say, similar trajectory, moved to Hollywood to be an actor, but my father's from Queens and my mother's from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. So I didn't have a vocal coach, but I got made fun of as a kid. Instead of saying family, I would say family,
yeah.
right? Orange is orange, math is math. So I actually did speak like that when I was younger. And I don't know, I guess I just kind of grew out of it when I got into the theater. So you
Well,
can,
it's who's surrounding you, and I was
true.
not surround. I was, I come from the area that wasn't so Tony. It's Coney Island area, so it's Bensonhurst. It everybody had an orange or a backyard or we didn't. It wasn't an accent,
Right.
and for the longest time when I did move here, though, people guided me and said you'll have to clean that up a bit. So
Okay.
I'm like,
Well,
"Really?"
lots of love to all the East Coast, Northeast coasters who still talk like this because we love you.
Oh, and I spend part of the year in New York because She Angels Foundation, we have New York giving circles, and my daughter lives in Baltimore, and I love New York because that's where I'm from. So my nostalgia. So I spend 3 months out of the year there. So during each month at a time, while I'm getting my pizza and I'm hanging out with Sabrina, I'm gonna lose a little bit of my yeah, I'm gonna find the D's, dems, and does there.
That's
It
right. The
doesn't go that.
California wears off a little bit.
Yeah, and it also gives me I don't know, it would be lovely if it was an Italian accent, but it's not, and so there you go. It gives me somewhat of a comfort and certainly a respect from where we came and respect for others who have their dialects,
I
so
love it. I love it.
but,
Okay, so you're in LA, you're working.
I moved. I was an actress for a good amount of time, and I have 25 commercials under my belt. I was like, "But do not tell anybody you have commercials because that is not, you're not a real actress."
That's
So,
right.
um,
And now all the movie stars are in commercials.
oh,
The regular people can't even book them.
it's so I wished I would have collected some of those reels to see because I was milked as a body good. I had a lot of great Dodge Boys Have More Fun. I had a lot of good fun campaigns. And so I had a great time, but it wasn't the career that I was expecting. And then I met my husband and I thought, well, I wasn't going to have kids. And then I met him and like life happened in the best way. And our son Shane was born little over a year after we were married, and he was a full-term baby. His name is Shane, but when he was born, he was paralyzed. I mean, no one knew in childbirth they rushed him to the NICU, and he could only open his eyes, but he wasn't moving, and no one knew anything. And after 2 weeks of intense tests where we lived in the hospital and he lived in the NICU, the diagnosis was that he had a rare genetic disorder called spinal muscular atrophy, something that there's one is called Werdnig-Hoffman, and that's what Shane had, and it was fatal. So it is something that two parents carry the genes, and you have to have two to have that, because he lived. We were able to test to see what genes that it was, and it was a very rare disorder. And now, 27 years later, they actually test every pregnant mom for this. Before, they did not know. It took 10 days for them to even diagnose what this was. We thought we were going to bring him home. He'd be in a wheelchair. You know,
Yeah.
doctors didn't know. He was just paralyzed. And anyway, from that, it was the worst of times in my life.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
honey.
I didn't think I was going to get out of bed ever. And in a funny way, I was always the giver. The funny way, that's when I learned how to receive, because there was nothing, I had nothing to give. I was, I went from very happy and couldn't help but help to completely I would say helpless. I was just very, very, and it didn't know where I was going to think. I didn't know what I was going to think the next day. And so from that point, I think 6 or 7 months, 8 months into that part of my life, my husband had gone back to work, and he got a great writing gig, and that was great. And I was home just musing about, can I go on?
Of course.
And my sister-in-law, Miriam, who is not with us anymore, Mickey, who I was very close with, she passed away very young at 52 years old. But at this time when Shane was born, she was just 3,000 miles away, lived in Scarsdale, New York. There was constant, she felt my pain, and she was able to share. So were my sisters and my mom, but she had seen and read an article in the newspaper about this woman who lost her baby, who was 9 months old, to the same genetic disorder, which was shocking, because the doctors told us it was rare. Everybody started looking it up. Internet was not what it is now,
Mm-hmm.
but it was rare. 1 in 40,000 carried it. They didn't know. Now they connected it to crib death, and they understand it a lot better.
Wow.
So she sent me an article about this woman who did this, and then all of a sudden I felt something, and I found this woman's phone number. I can't remember if Mickey helped me, or I did research, like, calling the Connecticut Times, whatever it was. It was meant to be. That's the Jewish word of,
Yes.
Bershert or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
it was meant for me to find her. And Amy and I spoke 4 hours about her son that passed away. And, here it was, somebody, I was not alone. And that in itself was something to me. And then she did something good for kids, and she told me about the what she was doing, and that Jonathan, she was doing it in a Jewish community center. And I went, maybe 3 months later, I went to Connecticut. I met her. We talked. It was one. That's how one difference. That's $1.40 a day, and this is one connection of your heart that changed my life,
Wow.
because at that point I thought, if I could do something good for him, I was able to get out of bed. And it all began there. And I would tell my agent, no, don't send me. Oh, Venice is too far. I can't. I'm gonna work on seeing about building playgrounds for children with disability. I'm gonna do some one thing in his memory. We're gonna build one. I took it one day at a time. I called it like a coming out party. I told our friends we had a party, and we're going to accept donations. We didn't have a 501(c)(3) yet, but people believed in us. And again, it's about community
Yeah.
and authenticity. Like, they knew that this was not something that was not going to become. into fruition.
Yes.
They knew, they can feel the dedication, and I was a better acting no longer took the front seat. Like I was better in touch with my humanity. And from that point forward, every part of the yoga dance went like this. There were hardly any walls. There were challenges for sure, but every which way we turned, more doors opened. I called my best friend Tiffany and I said, can you help? Let's do this. And Shane's bedroom became our office, and one day at a time, one friend at a time. And now there's over 100 playgrounds on 5 continents all around the world for
Wow.
children with disabilities and children with that are typically able to play together, and education programs. It's like I didn't set out to do that. I set out to, like, you know, cut out of school and and get into bars underage. Like that's what like you didn't say, and to be an actress. And when I do have to say, by the time I was 20, I was like, when I become rich and famous, I will then be able to save whoever needs saving. That is where I want to speak to those who have that in their mind, because someone very important to me at the time told me, what would you do if you could do anything? I said, oh, I'd volunteer, once I have the series, the TV series, and that lives with me now, because I'm like, yeah, it is. You have to build it. They will come. It's not put it on the back burner until later. So part of the thing in my book, I write about these little, it's a very, very short book, these little details, like what's on your back burner? What did you think of philanthropy when you were a kid? What organization sparked because those were things that came out of my tragic loss, but they don't have to come out of someone's tragic loss if I was asked the right questions earlier.
Mm. That's a good
Um,
point. Trauma changes us, but it can set us on a course unlike anything we could have dreamed of, and very, very different than your story. But had I not had breast cancer, I wouldn't have come into my own the way I did. I wouldn't have valued and respected myself, my body, my energy the way that I did. I probably wouldn't be helping people to the scale that I'm helping people now, and that I hope to do more one day. And it's not the one day, like you just said. I'm doing it, Catherine. You're inspiring me. And when I wanted to be a movie star, I used to say the same thing. Oh, I want to be famous so that I could tell everybody who to donate to and who to vote for. So it's funny.
and the people that do that at that point is fine, but on our way to it is where we've learned, I love Helen Reddy song, Yes, I Am Wise, is wisdom born of pain, is the line that I say, if we did not have this wisdom at this point after that pain, then that would be sad. Like,
Mm.
so at any point in your life, like if I can educate someone young from this book, if I can educate someone old, that hasn't thought of it, great. But for those of us who have it's taken a lifetime to a part of our lifetime. I'm in the third act right now. And so this is part of our process. Don't kick yourself for not doing it years before. And, it's I'm wise, and now this is the gift that I can give forward. And I use that word a lot too. I like wise, where before it felt like, oh, who are you to be wise? Well, we are.
Yeah.
And
Who are you not to
and
be?
and who are we not to be? And many of us, it's born of the pain from a broken marriage, to a loss of a child, to something, a loss of a career or an illness. You don't know whether it's life or death. Something can transform you, or something can leave you in the same place, bitching and moaning. And I know I write about that. So if you're here to complain, then close this book. That doesn't change anything. and
No, we
what
have to take
you
responsibility for our energy, for where we're at. We cannot be a victim and blame people. We can actually be a victim of circumstance or crime or whatever it might be, but it's a choice to stay a victim. And I stand by that. And you're absolutely right. And I don't tend to attract people of that mind to this show either. So you're speaking to the right crowd, Catherine. I like how you said you don't have to have gone through trauma or something terrible to learn this, right? You can learn it through your book, through your TED Talk, through these conversations, through podcasts like this. And I hope that for people. And I wish that for people. And I do see people on an expedited path when they've gone through hard times. So, how often do you see someone, and I guess you have to be pretty young to have never gone through something pretty bad, right? I mean, it's statistically speaking, how
well,
I'm not disheartened, but I don't see it enough where
I
people
I
haven't gone through shit and they've chosen to go on this path.
I think our job, and it is a job, the mantle that we hold now as for people that are younger is very important that we have a different this our my generation, your generation, and we do it a little down because my 26-year-old daughter, she loves community. She's been part of this in her life, but she's disappointed sometimes in her friends and what they do. She has a good group of close friends, but on a whole, that I have seen and lamented with her that there's not a lot of guidance from that, because what I feel happened is the baby boomer for me, I'm really at the tail end of that, very tail, a baby boomer. I didn't even know I was one. And then I looked at the date and I'm like, oh shit, I am. Like my grandparents were in the Holocaust and my great grandparents died in the Holocaust, and there was war. And then my mother, they're living out of the Depression. And so we my generation then wanted to give everything to our kids that we could to to not have them have that pain. And
Mm.
i'm I'm not the only one. I didn't make this up, but it certainly feels to me like it backfired because we don't want to ever give our children, have to have them be wisdom born in pain. We want them to be wise from the birth canal out. And it didn't work for me. And I know I have a lot of friends, a lot of women friends that we love to talk about, like, what the fuck? I'm going to use that word a zillion times when what did we do? Our kids, like, we've given them everything, and now they're we don't want them to have pain to get into action. So they're having to find their own way. I think the long answer is I think that we really need to be in rooms with young women and leaders, and young women and men and boys, to respect their women. So boys and men are important as well. They think we fucked everything up by climate change. I hear it like they're blaming us, but we need to really have a better way to educate them. And of course, our education system is crap, and we're not having practitioners and people like us. We should be in the classroom. There
Mm.
should be much more of you and I and our peers that are just saying, we know you guys have this coming up, but we want to share to you some of where we got to through our pain, and we want to share a little bit of that wisdom. We can't fix everything. And I think it's an issue, but it will have to resolve itself through their own, those that we can reach, and the ones that we can't reach, they're trying, but it's they don't have as many challenges. Now their challenges, unfortunately, is the climate and the earth,
Sure.
the weather.
Are they going to have
And
a planet to even have the opportunity to have personal challenges with.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So, I like to look at things always half full because that's who I am. When I don't, that's where all my friends come out of the woodwork and go like, "Uh-oh, something's up with Cat." There, because
Mhm.
if she's saying, so I'm trying to not keep my head under the covers, but not watching the news and seeing it, just where can I help? So that's where Philanthropy on the Shoestring, that's where your podcast, this is where we, as a, anyone 40 and older, I think into our 60s, because I think 45, I think women in their 40s are starting, and certainly that includes men. I have a very strong advocacy for women because we have had such, um, we waned in the support since the 60s. We kind of thought we had things going, and then all of a sudden,
I mean, it's been probably a couple thousand years, babe.
yeah.
You
Read
know,
a book called Chalice and the Blade. It's that old. That's what inspired me about where history is not written history by people, and it's Chalice and the Blade, and it's a woman archaeologist story. It's a true story that awoke my curiosity to where women lost their power.
well, I will. I will look that up. And to your point, I've spoken at a handful of high schools and a college, and I want to do more of that because they're really like they listen, they're drinking it up, they're curious, they're fascinated. It's so wonderful to look into their eyes and see their kindness in their soul that they want to do good, and perhaps life hasn't taken a big shit on them yet.
Yes.
So there is that catalyst. It exists, and it
And only through you going and speaking to, like,
yeah,
the
gotta do
worst
it.
thing is being apathetic,
Hmm.
that is the worst characteristic that we can have towards, like, they're never gonna learn, or we can't it's a
No.
mountain to climb, but if you're out there and you're one school, like, some people go like, "Well, I can't do that because 'cause I'm not." One Pick one thing. I'm fine with the one thing that you do, because that one thing, or that one child, adult, young adult that you inspire while you're speaking, Alicia, to a class, that person is good. You just don't know. And
Right.
so it's not like putting your sights low. It's just, remember, everyone makes a difference. And the way we, back to collective giving, we make an impact together. We can make an impact. But if no one person starts it, then there's,
No
you
domino
know,
effect.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody knows a teacher. Everybody knows one person who's teaching in public or private sector. And my sister is a math teacher. So she's the one who said, "Hey, we're having like a wellness day. Would you come and speak to my students, come and speak to some other students?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So if you're listening or watching this and you're like, "Well, how would I even get into school to speak about my story? Or does my story even matter?" If you have any part of your journey connected to resilience, perseverance, hope, the fact that you're still alive and watching this on a device, you have some privilege. You have something to motivate others with. And just reach out to someone who works at a school and say, "Hey, who can you connect me to so I can come speak at your school and just motivate the shit out of these kids who need it? Damn it."
Yeah, that
Mhm.
that that is it, and that one, inevitably, there's going to be those kids that are listening, and I do think they are listening. They could, teenagers could be assholes, but boy, sometimes you catch
We're
that's
assholes at every age, babe. We are.
weren't we? We get like, you're just getting out of the chicken coop. You're like, well, I want to see everything here, so you don't know anything.
That's right. And the hormones hit us on that side, and then they hit us again at our age. So
I know.
before we get into your TED Talk, we're in the late 90s, early 2000s. You are now building playgrounds And over time, you're building more and more playgrounds. So, what was the next step, do you feel, led to this empowerment within you, Catherine, that you've redefined who you are, that you are just simply here to be helpful?
My mission and the journey for Shane's inspiration, like for the playgrounds, felt very much accomplished. Like I didn't have to. There was no importance for me to micromanage. Like it became the biggest thing that we all want is to. So if I help you, now you're well.
Yeah.
And this area became, now there's playgrounds like this. Everybody's aware all over the world. So when I took a moment and I like, oh, right, this is not about me, right? This is really not about me. It's about the kids that were waiting to play and now they're playing and it's going. So I took a step back. And I think during that time, there was a lot of soul searching in that time of like, where is forward for me? And forward was, oh, I this is the passion that I do. When you say help people, it's not, it was to serve, to give, to like, that feels good to me. And I feel sometimes selfish because, all right, now I'm gonna give more and I'm gonna get others to give. And I have one of my sisters who I love like crazy. All of them, we're all close. The oldest sister, she doesn't receive very well,
Mm.
almost at all. And I always tell her how selfish she is to not receive because
Yes.
it is feels so good to give. And I know that from all that my life has been. She's always telling me how proud she is of me and how much, so she knows it just through soul searching. And you go like, okay, if I didn't do anything else, that's fine. And what else? What do I love to do? I love to get out of bed in the morning and say, what can I do for you today? It's not bullshit. It's not like some days I say, what can I do for you today to me? But
Hmm.
in the other way, it's like, what can I do today? It just makes me feel so good that I feel people say, oh my God, you work so much. How are you doing? You volunteer, how is that? You must be exhausted. And I really don't. Some days, yes, I'm like, what did I get myself into today by helping them write a grant, mentoring this or writing this and helping? But really, for the most part, I feel like I pamper myself. I'm almost giving feels pampering. Does that make any sense to
It
you?
does. It does. Because that receiving and that giving energy is cyclical, right? As Andrea
Yeah.
talks about, it's the in breath and the out breath. So then when you look at it, it's an infinity loop and your
Mhm.
soul is satisfied. So, of course, it's like how they say an extrovert feels energized after a party, right? Where an introvert will feel exhausted after a party, right? So when you're in alignment with your
Mhm.
soul's purpose, you're going to receive energy. When I host my retreats, do workshops, when I do speaking, I feel so energized after. And everyone's like, "Are you tired? Do you need a break?" I'm like, "No, I've like now is it. Now's the climax, right? I'll need a break at the end of the party because I'm actually more introverted." But
Right.
it's I totally understand. And I think everyone can resonate with that.
Yeah, and not knowing that and then taking the time to learn that about yourself is it's really gratifying. Like I feel so good that I feel great in this place. And believe me, the last almost a year and a half, there's been challenges for me
Mhm.
along with this. That, some personal challenges that people go like, "Wow, how are you? Like, how is that going for you?" And I'm like, "I'm good. I'm happy. I feel like I started out happy, and how I'm resolving this is through being more in touch with who I am, meditating a little bit more, and that's it. Taking care of ourselves has to be number one because we then to take care of others, but
Yes. And
partially taking care of others is taking care of myself. So
it
I,
is.
I, I I'm glad.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing. There are challenges and people think, "Oh, well you've got it made. You're a philanthropist or you get to do a podcast or this and that." And it's like there are still challenges. We all still have our challenges. And in talking about interpersonal relationships, people change around us when they see us going in a different direction from them, and whatever that means, right? Career wise, or whatever their definition of success is, right? And mine is peace. Mine is
Uh,
not connected to finance. And I have to ground myself in that because I'm really good at making money, Catherine, but I go through my own cycles of debt. I do not teach people how to manage finance. I'm really good at teaching people how to make more money, right? So I know that that's another part of my evolution, and it stresses me out sometimes. And I want to be great. I want to be great at it. And whatever it is you're going through, sweetheart, and you've been going through, it's all about giving ourselves grace and ultimately getting to a place of forgiveness. And when we talk about true forgiveness, it's not, well, I'm just going to forgive and forget because what's the point? No, it's truly you think of that other person who you're frustrated with or who you feel has hurt you, and you only think of love. You only feel love. You only wish them well. You truly just wish them well. And I always tell people, just love them off your path. Speak your
yeah.
truth. Boundaries are good, and love them off your path.
Yes. That's a beautiful way of putting it. It's a beautiful way of putting it.
Thanks, honey.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, ooh, all right. TED. Now, TED is a big goal for a lot of people who participate in this show. I have the TED logo on my vision board somewhere on one of my many vision boards. I have vision. I have vision.
I, I, I have so many vision boards because I used to do vision board retreats up here in Solvang.
I feel like
Before,
I remember you posting about that in the Quintessentials group that we were in.
yeah, I think Andrea has done. Hillary certainly has done twice. Susan
That's
Anton,
fun. Let me see. What do we
Catherine.
got? What do we got?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I love that part of it is not, is something Mike Dooley taught me, which was like the matrix, like you look for happiness. And I would see people going like, well, this will bring me happiness. So I see money on here. So you cut out the money. No, the happiness comes and then the money is something else. So I love teaching it in certain ways of that. So I do a lot of vision boards for myself, not just I'll do my current vision board. I will do my health vision board, and I have my daughter's vision board.
I love it.
Yeah, they're great to have. They're great,
It
and
feels
so yeah,
good.
so
Like this is, can I show you one of mine?
I would love to see one of yours.
So they're all different colors because they go with different feng shui and like chakra
Oh,
stuff. So this
yes,
is one.
and I teach feng shui vision board because that's another lifetime. But yes, okay, so I
Yes. So this is one for house and home. I just want to have all my friends and family gathered in my home and outside of my home, and just feeling good with like a fire pit and all the different family members and Halloween party. Just like that's just what I wish for in my life, is to just be surrounded. And then, oh, here's my philanthropy board, baby. Okay.
I love it on the gold. I love the back. I love your choice of
See it?
see that. Well, that's gonna where that's happening. You're gonna start. You'll be part of the philanthropy circle. You'll just be. We'll talk off of this and how immediately you can get that into action.
That's fun. Yeah. And so I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. I also have a picture of the lottery headquarters in Nashville. So that way, when I win the lottery jackpot, I know exactly what the building looks like where I pull up.
I love that so much.
Yep.
I have found my doppelganger in love of of these things, which it takes, it takes doing all this. For me, people would say, "Oh, that's woo woo." I used to sell crystal bowls. I told you as an actress, chief bottle wash and cook for sure. Um, and in the crystal bowls with crystals and so on, and, I would hear those people say woo woo and all, and now all this woo woo is actually medically, scientifically proven for mental, physical, everything. So I'm like, well, we are getting vindicated, girl.
That's
We
right.
are.
Amazing.
I
Okay.
don't know anybody that.
What inspired you to do a TED Talk?
I decided one day about 3 years ago that I was a couch potato. Here's how it started. I said yes to this retreat from Liz Swadek that had it. It was a mastermind group. And I was like, okay, yes, sign me up. She said, you didn't ask how much it costs. I'm like, oh, okay. But I already said yes. So now I can't, there's can't be a money conversation. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew that I love this woman, Liz Swadek, who just, I loved her gut. I loved how she interpreted things around me with other people. And I think just because I loved who she was, I said yes. And we did this 6 months with 9 women, and it was on Zoom. And then there was a retreat. But during this time, during Zoom, she would also have personal, once a week, we'd have separate conversations with her for maybe 2. So she said, so what do you think you could do? Like, so she said, I think you have a TED talk in you. I'm like, no, what do people care about what I say? That's how it began. And then when the TED Talk was in midstream of me, I wrote it, I rewrote it, I wrote it 25 times. And, it's not easy memorizing 12 minutes. Mine is 10 minutes. I think we had up to 12 minutes when I got accepted. I put the first round in, I got accepted into a friend of mine, Randy Thomas, did her TED Talk in Fargo, and it was incredible. And there's a 5,000 seat arena. It's not it was a challenge. So I thought, you know what? If I'm going to do a TED Talk, I'm going to throw my hat over the wall and I'm going to put it out to them first. Let's see. And I got accepted right away,
Wow.
which was, my story is a unique story in some ways.
When you said, okay, I'm submitting to the TED Talks, did you nominate yourself or did someone nominate you?
I submitted it.
Oh, cool.
And so I submitted it. I didn't have to have somebody submit it for me.
Got it. I'm
And
asking some of these technical questions in case anyone watching wants to be on TED, because I feel like they
yeah,
do.
it's TEDx, and TEDx is a different format. This happened, the one that I got accepted to happens to have the TED format where it's a conference of a whole day. It's not just one. So I've now learned there's many different TEDx's. This one that I happened to do, which was
That's
fabulous.
so
And I
cool.
was so supported by it. And I had to have a coach. I personally had to have a coach because I wrote it so many different times and I was scared, though I was an actress. Come on, that was so
Oh,
many
no.
years
And it's
ago.
different. It's different than acting. Acting is a very different thing than teaching
But
and
the coach I
speaking.
had was great because she said, "This is not acting. We're not rehearsing your TED Talk." Lynn Ferguson, she coached me as me, like you, because you have this and all of the things. We didn't even rehearse the TED itself full through until like the last month. But
Wow.
then I had it because I had who I was as a person and what I was delivering. And, when we started rehearsing here before the last month, she would say, okay, okay, read it and so on. And then I would say, oh, I don't remember that part. And she would say, you know what, that is probably structured wrong. And she'd allow me to restructure it. Or I say, oh, I don't think I need this part. Because I was telling my life story in 10 minutes
That's hard.
up to now, because maybe I'll have another TED for the third act, who
Yes,
knows?
you will.
But this was from age, I was, my age, I was born in Brooklyn, I think, some of the, but it goes back. It started with the loss of my son, and then it went to where I came from and where I was today. It's a friggin' lot to put in, and I was scared shitless, by the way. My daughter, right before I went on stage, she called me and she said, Mom, take a deep breath, reach your ankles. I listen to everyone's coaching. Of course, we know we should breathe, but all of a sudden we're like, oh, I forgot to breathe all the time. So technically, it's got to be your story that you're authentically in touch with, and and it could be helpful to share with others. And when like, if I tell this story, because I did not think I was maybe worthy of a TED Talk, and then Liz gave me the confidence behind it. She said, this is a story, and then I started writing it. So I would suggest to anybody, write a story, make it be 5 pages, but then get it down to 10 minutes. That's the trick. If it takes you all year to do so, do it. But, to get it down and then see, is it worthy? But the worst thing that can happen is that you learn something about yourself and you share it with some friends. So you have a community. Maybe you go like, oh, while we're putting our giving circle together on $1.40 a day,
Yes.
we are also going to make that we're going to read a paragraph from a TED that we're writing, like
Ooh, I like that.
creativity.
Mm-hmm.
That is it. Because all day long, believe me, we sit and drink wine. We have angel power happy hours. Like, it's not about it's about lifting each other up through these giving circles. That's part of it, is the community. And then look, we get to give money, or then we get to do a TED talk or read a book. It's so, I love
It's yummy.
to be creative, and you love that too. I could see your
I
visual.
do.
So having that, a group maybe, and then you go like, okay, mine is, and no one's judging. The first and foremost is you gather the right group of people together if they're going to listen to your TED talk or not. And also, as Andrea will say, it's like, if they're not your people, don't invite them. So don't, maybe not ask even if you love a sister or someone or a husband or a boyfriend, like, maybe don't mention it to them. Maybe just keep it between you know, yourself. And the worst thing is that you'll know nothing will be the worst thing. Usually you learn something more about
Yeah.
yourself. And then, you could submit them apparently more. I just submitted this one, but if you know somebody, then you start saying, I have a TED talk. And then you could, and then you'll see, as the vision board unfolds, that your vision, you manifest it, if it's meant to be. And if it's not meant to be, I didn't know from Adam where a TED talk would be viable for me. Really, I did not, until one day I did. It's just like many things. You don't think you're ever going to get married, then you meet somebody and you do, or you don't think you'll ever get divorced and then you don't, and you do, and you don't think you'll ever have, and then it's like,
Yeah.
we don't know. So until you put it out there to yourself, and don't be afraid to share it with someone who will help you manifest it. Like, I hate the fact that when we say don't burn your birthday candles, like, don't tell everybody your wish. Now I'm like, I want to tell everybody what, don't keep it.
Everybody. Yeah. Who made that rule up? That rule's bullshit.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
But again, around your people,
Yes.
see, and it's always viable for you unless you'll learn something. And also, I want to just say, I'm not a writer. I wasn't a writer. I really can't spell. Thank God for Grammarly, because Grammarly
I use
is,
Grammarly also. It's free. The free plugin. It's great.
yes, the free plugin, because
Mhm.
I'm not structure oriented or that. So just take all of that away. That's how you start your TED talk. Don't criticize yourself.
Mhm.
Start with putting a word on the paper. One day when I was 5, or whatever your story is around, or make it a bigger story, and then truncate it to the parts that make your heart sing, or sad, or whatever you think that sharing with somebody would benefit.
Thank you for
Did I
that.
answer the question?
Yeah, and thank you. That's so helpful. And it's a dream for a lot of people to be on a TEDx stage and to have that on their resume. And it just, as you know, Catherine, it just adds to your authority. People are going to say yes to you more now with that red logo on your website. And look, it certainly doesn't mean that if somebody doesn't have I don't have a TED,
Yeah.
right? And I just booked a podcast that has 50,000 listeners every month, or someone wants me to come and speak to them. So, and before you had a TED, you didn't have a TED and they chose you, right? So we are all worthy and deserving of a happy life and our time in the spotlight and our stage, because we have a mission in our heart that we are here to share. It's our dharma. So
Yeah.
keep going. And if being on a TED or a TEDx is part of your dream, then cool, go back, rewind, take some notes on what Catherine said, and just fucking go for it, man.
That's it. That, you know, it, that is, at the end of the day, case in point. And then you will, and now what? See, 'cause I always say there's always bigger, better, more. So don't drag on every decision like it's the only decision you're ever going to make again, because you won't get it. You get to do more fun things if you go like, okay, there's always going to be bigger, better, more. A house, a car, a shoe, pair of shoes, whatever it is.
Yeah,
There's so this dress has polka dots. Tomorrow I might want squares, but if I never bought a polka dotted dress, I wouldn't have the joy for the time that I do.
that's right. And your earrings are gorgeous. What are those?
Those are Minda garnets, that Minda Burr jewelry. I think it's
I'll put
mindaburrjewelry.com.
the link in the
She has
description here.
she's been a source of of joy. You know, when they talk about keep the things that bring you joy, it's like,
She's been bejeweling my friends for at least a decade, I believe. So,
I'm sure almost everyone I know, including Andrea Quinn, including you, including Hillary, all came through Minda.
yeah,
Everyone
that is
came
so
through.
fun. You know,
And what I learned is that no matter how old you are, I can still make and have like some of the closest friends I know even 2 years ago,
yeah,
that I'm like shocked. You can. I didn't know. You know, you think, oh, I'm going to have all my very close friends. There's so much more of community and connection to be continued.
it's true.
True.
There's a line from the original Muppet movie, and I'm a big Muppets fan, big Jim Henson fan. And Gonzo sang this line in the desert when the Muppets were on a little breakup hiatus, and he was having a hard time. But he sang in this song, "There isn't a word yet for old friends you just met." Isn't that beautiful?
Not word yet for old friends you just met. Yes. I love that.
Yeah, so when I feel a connection with someone, I think of that. We've been in each other's circles for so long, and we got a chance to hang out before we hit record and talk more about that. But it really is so special to be here with you and your big heart. And I'm like, I know that everything happens in divine time, and I'm also fucking pissed that we didn't connect like 5 years ago. More.
That's so funny. I frequently say that too. I'm like, damn it, what have I been doing all these years? You know,
Yeah.
but it is a divine time.
Oh
I
my
a
gosh. I
hundred
remember when Hillary was like, I'm going to North Dakota to go see Catherine's TEDx. Was it North or South Dakota?
percent
Fargo.
Fargo, North Dakota.
Dakota, right? She's like, I'm going to the Dakotas and we're all staying at this Airbnb or something. I don't remember what she was doing, but she was leaving. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Catherine's doing a TEDx. Like, that's amazing, right? Like, you've always been in my orbit. So
Mhm.
here we are.
That was talk about support. That I think about 10 of, well, maybe 8 of them, because 2 already live there, said, "We're gonna come and watch it with you." I'm like, "Oh, good," and, "Oh, shit." Now I really have those are the 10 people I'm gonna in front of 5,000 people, but those 10 people are the ones that I'm most, I have it riding on.
That's
So,
right. And you get to look in their eyes and their hearts as you were speaking. How often
mhm.
did you look at them during your delivery?
No, I couldn't see them. This was it was a big it was, it was a big arena with tiers up above. I mean, you couldn't really see people, and then there were
Mm.
chairs on the floor all the way back. I was gonna say it's a convention center, but it's not, because it's got some kind of state. I
Yeah,
forget
like a
what it
big amphitheater. Mm.
it was big for me, and I wasn't 5,000 full of people. I mean, all day, that was their capacity. So, I'd see the empty seats, but I connected with other people. And then when I said something about girlfriends or women in my life, I looked over, they were in the dark abyss over there. But I
You
looked
knew
once
they
and
were.
I went like this really quickly, like, okay, there
It's
you
like
go.
our angels, right? We know they're there, even if we can't see
Yes,
them.
yes. Oh, what
Hmm.
good support. And they knew that I wouldn't talk to them the day until the day until after my TED. I didn't even get into the picture with everybody at the end, because I was so happy to see them, even though they were there with me. But I was in my own room. I was rehearsing. I would don't look side eyed at me because I was so nervous. So.
Wow. Yeah, I'd be nervous, even though I've memorized, I've been in plays,
Yeah.
but yeah, you can't really call line on a
No,
TED stage.
no, no, no.
Wow,
Uh,
that's amazing, sweetheart.
I'm very grateful to your questions, to your interests, to your joy for what you do, and how I feel back about. I'm receiving it through the miles and through the what did we call this? Virtually
Virtual.
receiving
Thanks,
it
Mama.
too.
Yeah, we're a mirror. We get to do that. Okay, so then one final fun question. Now, I'm going to ask you a different question than I've asked everybody who's been on my show. But I always end my show by asking people, the lottery is getting up to $1 billion pretty regularly in America. And it's sometimes hit $2 billion. So if the lottery hits $1 billion after taxes, maybe it's 400 million or 500 million or so. We're not sure. And normally I ask people, when you finally win the jackpot, what do you do with your time? But I feel like I know what you do with your time because you're already doing it, babe. So I want to ask you differently. One, what's the first thing you do when you find out you won $1 billion? And second, what will you do? What will Catherine Curry Williams do with $1 billion?
First thing I would say is, what color card do you want from the guy that I always buy the lottery tickets from? Because I always tell him, I listen, my win is your win. What color card do you want? So you just think of the color. So that one I already have down.
Got it.
And what I would do is that, well, the same thing that I would be doing now, where there's nothing in my life that money could buy that I don't already have.
So this is about the
But
impact with that
impact,
amount of money.
that is what Liz had to say to me, and she had to make me worthy to do a TED Talk and write a book. She's because I'm like, I'm good. I don't have loads of money or anything like that, but I have friends and and she said, well, what about the more you make, the bigger the impact you can make.
Correct.
It would raise the awareness of how important it is that we just don't act in emergency situations, that we're kind of like everything that everyone would do that comes from the place that we think of. So I'm sure I'm not alone in spending those billions, be sharing them, receiving. Oh, here's the one thing that I selfishly would like. Can I tell you
Yes,
that?
yes.
Aside from the apartment in New York, which I don't own and I rent an apartment, but I would like to have a driver. So this is something I've always kind of wanted, is a driver, safe driver, not just any driver, some safe driver that would drive me places so I could work or nap in the car and get around the city and get around other places. Like, I don't need a jet plane or anything, but I'd like a driver. So the one of my personal things that I would have, not in a limo, but now what is a limo? A Suburban or
Hmm.
whatever it looks like. That is what I would like, please.
You've got it, Mama, as you wish. And I
Thank you.
wonder, you're welcome. I wonder what kind of impact, I mean, obviously $5,000 at a time when you break out $500 million would go really far in grassroots organizations. So I wonder when you win, what will shift?
It's a very short chapter. I mean, everything is a very short chapter in here, but I say why grassroots is the MVP for me. And yeah, I certainly think that people think that grassroots is something that's, well, they haven't gotten there yet. They haven't been, no, like this, I would educate the shit out of everybody about why. It's democracy. It's the beginning of what we did as a human being, is to help our sister or brother or neighbor, not our even so our sister or brother, our neighbor. Peace begins at home, and education is king, and travel is king, because I think many poets have said it. It's hard to be a racist when you travel around the world and you see how much we are alike. And I would have us all being the cohorts of, there wouldn't be a day that there wasn't a seminar with those young girls and guys, and that our group of cohorts wouldn't be touching their ears.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get our lottery tickets together because it's all to share.
That's right. I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you for
Thank
being.
you for asking that question because I like to be able to, until I can think of an answer. Until the question comes, you don't think of an answer. So I
Hmm.
haven't.
Yeah. And when kind people have wealth, the world is a better place.
Yes. And there's a lot of kind people out there that somehow, and I believe they just don't know where to put it. And there's a lot of good people out there that have a little. And again, together they can make an impact. And they're not giving themselves the credit that they need. And they think, change happens one sand piece at a time.
Mhm. Yeah. That's how the beach is formed.
Exactly.
All right, my love. Well, bye for now. And your website, your TEDx talk, and of course, your link for your book will all be in the description below. We'll also give Minda Burr a shout out for her jewelry in the description below. And
Okay.
yeah, keep an eye out for Giving Circles and also check out She Angels and hold up that book for us one more time, beautiful
And
woman. Be proud. Yes, look at that. Philanthropy on a shoestring budget, $1.40 a day. I'm in.
I look at what a cute pair of shoes, although that heel I'm getting a little pain now, but I can handle it for a day.
I think they're cute. I'll wear them for at least 40 minutes.
Okay, yeah. I call them my 2-hour shoes.
That's right.
You're sitting for most of the 2 hours.
Then it works. You just got to get from the car to the door to the table, and then you're good, right?
Yep,
And then back. Okay.
that's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye for now, my
Okay.
love.
Well, bye. Thank you. I look forward to our conversations in the future.
Thanks, love.
Thank you.